Hey Facebook friends, Jonathan Saenz here, president of Texas Values and Texas Values Action. We're here on the floor of the convention here, the Republican Party of Texas convention. People tell us it's the largest political event in the world. Expected 10,000 people are going to be attending. So look, if you're not a delegate, you're not a Republican, whatever, you just want to check it out, you care about faith, family, and freedom, you can come down. You can get a guest pass, you can check some of the booths. There are hundreds of people that have booths there. We obviously have a booth. We're in between U.S. Senator Ted Cruz's booth, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick's booth, and we've got our next guest here on our Facebook Live, Mike Toth, who is a member of the Team Paxton. He works at the Attorney General's office, but he also just won a runoff election to be the next state Court of Appeals judge for the 3rd District and 3rd Court of Appeals in the Central Texas area. Mike, how's things been going in your life?
It's been busy.
Yeah?
It's been busy, but it's been good. We got a great result. I had a fantastic runoff election in May, and I'm now the Republican Party nominee, and I just feel humbled and honored to have the opportunity to be in this race in November. I think November 2018 is going to be a historic election year, and we're setting the foundation right now for something great.
Yeah, no, look, you're right. There's a lot of interest, a lot of things going on. And am I right, this is your first time to run for office?
That's correct.
Yeah, that's got to be interesting.
I've had the great pleasure of working for some really good, principled, grounded elected officials.
Yeah.
So at the beginning of my career, I was in the Bush White House for President George W. Bush, and I worked for a person named Mitch Daniels, who went on to become the governor of Indiana.
Yeah.
So between President Bush and Governor Daniels, I stepped off on the right foot, and then I spent some time on active duty in the Marine Corps and finished that time up, and I came to Texas, and now I work for another fantastic elected official, our Attorney General Ken Paxton, who came out and endorsed me at the beginning of the race.
Well, you talk about being active. I mean, that office is active. I mean, on the front lines, so many times, and my daughter's trying to get behind the camera. No, sweetheart, this is a family-friendly zone, just so you know. So if you've got your kids, you want to bring them down, we got a little game of cornhole going on over here with a little beanbag toss for the Cowboys. But look, I mean, the Attorney General Ken Paxton office is very active. A lot of times there are cases at the U.S. Supreme Court where the general's putting together teams of states, if you will, for amicus briefs, all of that, taking great leadership positions. You also worked for a federal Fifth Circuit judge, Edith Jones, am I correct? So that is a very prestigious position. You got to know the law. You got to have your act together. You've got to be able to handle that type of work. And the position, and I kind of was just asking you about your election history, it's a little bit different for judges, if you will, because a lot of times at the federal level, all the time they get appointed, so they don't run at the state level, though. They do run for election, but it's not just like anyone you expect to run. I mean, you expect someone to have that background experience, and that's something you have. I mean, you've got the judicial experience as far as being on the federal bench, clerking for a judge, some of the things you talked about at the White House, just a vast amount of experience. And so, and it's a particular position. You're talking about the appellate court position. Tell us a little bit about kind of the role of the judges in this position that you're running for.
Absolutely. The role of the judge is basically to figure out what the law is and then apply the law, not make it up. And at the Texas Attorney General's office, you mentioned before, Jonathan, we've done a fantastic job. I mean, during the entire time that Attorney General Paxton has been there, and obviously he took over from our great governor, who was Attorney General for over a decade, really making sure that we understand the law and that we protect Texas. And that's what we've been doing at the Attorney General's office, from constitutional law to consumer protection and everything in between. When things get into the court system, our courts provide an impartial arbitrator, impartial judge that looks at the facts and that looks at the law honestly, objectively, and says, this is what the law says, and I'm not going to apply it in this particular case. And you're absolutely right. We need folks in judicial office who have character, who have integrity, and who have the background where they can follow the law and make sure that they understand exactly what it says.
Yeah, well, and look, a lot of times people don't realize kind of this appellate court system and how it works. You got a trial court at the state level, and then you get one appeal, or you get at least a chance to appeal it. It may not go the way you want, but when you go to the Texas Supreme Court, it's not guaranteed. I mean, you've got to really thread the needle for the Texas Supreme Court, but everyone gets a shot at the appellate court. And remind me, at the appellate level, the intermediate appellate level, you've got criminal cases and civil cases.
That's correct. Yeah, the court that I'm running for does basically everything except for death penalty cases. And as you said, 97, 98% of cases end at the appeals court. And the Texas Supreme Court just doesn't have the bandwidth to take every single appeal from every single appellate court across the state of Texas. So we really have to get it right. And on the Third Court of Appeals where I'm running from, we take appeals from 24 Texas counties, including Travis County.
Right.
And so it's real important when a case goes to the Travis County court system that the third court steps in and makes sure that the law has actually been applied.
Yeah, because you never know when some court in Travis County may, want to bring charges or be involved in some case with our sitting governor. We've seen that happen before. Well, and you know what, Mike? Let me ask you a little bit about your family. I know our families got to spend a little time together.
Yeah.
Look, it's important. I know, this is a family matter when you run for office. Tell us a little bit about your family.
Well, I am absolutely blessed with a wonderful wife. My beloved wife Carolina is the love of my life, and we've got two absolutely beautiful children, which I owe completely to her. And we spent a lot of fun time on the campaign trail with our two kids, who pass out cards and tell people to vote for my dad. And we've had a chance to really travel around as a family, a lot of the 24 counties. We've been to Fayette County together, and we've met people in Williamson County, in Hayes County where we live, in Travis County, and it's always just an absolute pleasure. But as a candidate, they call it a campaign for a reason. It can feel like almost a military deployment. You're gone for...
You know a little bit about that.
Exactly.
Being a Marine yourself.
Yeah, you're gone for days at a time, it seems like, where you're getting up before your family's up and you're getting home when the kids are in bed. So, to my wife, Carolina, I love you absolutely every day, and I appreciate all that you've done as, having the most difficult job, holding down the fort, as I've been off, traveling these 24 counties and getting the Republican Party nomination. So, my love, we got one more race to go in November.
Well, it's been good spending time with you and your family. I know that's something that I always enjoy. There's people that we have that I get to find out a little bit more about personally in some of the work that I do, and you don't live too far from where I live, so that helps things out. But Mike, we've appreciated having you on. Appreciated you giving our viewers some more information. The elections are important. The general election's in November, and so it's important to get out, exercise your right to vote. Mike Toth has been our guest today on our Texas Values Facebook Live session. Mike, thanks for dropping by.
It's been a pleasure. Let's do this again, Jonathan.
All right, so he's going to exit stage right, and our next guest is going to be Matt Krause. State Representative Matt Krause is going to step into the booth here and say hello.
Representative, good to
after
see
he
you.
greets our exiting guest here. Look, there are state representatives, state senators here, people from all across the state and other parts of the country that are here. We're just going to get right into this next segment. Man, we almost got the same color jacket here.
How about that?
I love that. Good design. How you doing, sir? Good to see you. Bring it a little bit closer to me. We'll keep the shot. Are we good on the shot? We're good. Matt Krause, state representative from the Fort Worth area. Certainly someone who you can count on for faith, family, and freedom. We've worked on a lot of issues together, legislation. He's a licensed attorney. He's done a lot of work on important court cases. There's a lot of energy, a lot of interest. Did you just get in town today, yesterday?
Got in last night.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling you, there's expected 10,000 people here. People tell us it's the largest political event in the world. This is Texas. You know how we do things, okay? But hey, we appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I've been up into your district in that area a little bit. We're going to have an event there actually on the 21st. You can go to our website, cxvalues.org, if you want to come to our reception. But I know, look, there's been a lot of activity in your area. Always great events up in the Fort Worth area.
That's right.
You've been able to kind of get back, it's been a year or so since the session ended, and the next session is going to be starting soon. But I know something you probably care about is last week a very important decision by the U.S. Supreme Court on the issue of religious liberty, where we saw Jack Phillips, a Christian cake baker, who won against the government who tried to restrict his religious beliefs. They tried to punish him. Tell us a little bit about what your thoughts were when you saw the decision.
Yeah, I think it's huge because there's a lot of people saying it didn't go far enough. I agree. I would like for them to come out and say it's okay to have religious beliefs in your workplace and to abide by those, and government can't force you to do something for somebody. I would have liked to have seen them do that. They didn't. but we shouldn't be naysaying or being negative about this decision at all. As you and I both know as litigators in the religious liberty realm, the Supreme Court gave so much room for us to litigate, for us to fight, that it's actually a big ruling.
Well, and if you think about, what the next steps are, right? I mean, it's always important to win, okay? And there's no question that the Christian cake baker won, in this case, Jack Phillips. As a matter of fact, we're going to be celebrating that win tomorrow here at our booth at the convention at 12:30. We're going to have free wedding cake to celebrate this masterpiece cake victory at 12:30. The line may start early, okay? And once we run out of cake, we're out, okay? But you're correct about what people are talking about moving forward. And I think that's where the legislature comes in, okay? Because a lot of people are going to want to know, okay, now specifically, how does this work at the state level? You're no stranger. You're one of the leading people, if you will, that files legislation to make it specific what religious liberty rights there are at the state level. I imagine we're going to see a lot more of that activity for this coming session.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest bills we talked about was the First Amendment's Defense Act, which basically said you can do what Jack Phillips did and the government can't penalize you.
Right.
And so we just got a lot of affirmation from the highest court in the land that that is a valid constitutional policy.
Absolutely.
And everybody looks at, well, it didn't go as far as I wanted. Think about if the reverse had happened. If they would have come down and Jack Phillips would have been told, no, the Colorado Human Rights Commission was correct, it would have been devastating for religious liberty. So not only was it a very good gain on the religious liberty side, but it was monumental when you look at it, what it could have been.
Yeah, and now that's what's, you'll see that sometimes the Supreme Court will, they'll make a decision, and then it'll be the states to say, here's how these things are applied. And so what we've not known in the past is, oh, maybe these issues are, we don't know if they'll go one way or another. You and I felt like, look, the First Amendment talks about religious liberty. What else do we need? But it's very clear there is more that's been needed. Specifically, a lot of times people say, well, we don't know where the state law is on this issue. Okay, so having something in state law that specifically spells out, if you have the belief that marriage is between one man and one woman, the government cannot punish you as a private business owner. That's what the Supreme Court told us in this case.
That's right, and in fact, the hostility towards those Christians was very unconstitutional. I mean, that was one of the most bright line rules coming out of that entire opinion was the Colorado Human Rights Commission treated Jack Phillips terribly, and you cannot show animus or hostility towards somebody with religion.
That was such an important part of this decision because we see it all the time. You and I see it all the time. People come at us that way, sometimes in legislative committee hearings. They say some of the most ugly things about Christians. I don't know how many times, I won't say how many times, but numerous times I've been testifying at a hearing. I've been talking about my Christian faith, and people have yelled out that you're just like Hitler, you're a Nazi, and I just let all that stuff go. But we see this climate from some people thinking that we're fair game as Christians for them to say some of the most ugly things about us. That is what hurt the government in this case.
That's right, and I think that's the important piece going forward because you're going to have a lot of these other local commissions, statewide commissions, who either won't know that or will be so upset with those people in front of them. They're going to continue to show animus or hostility towards them. They're going to continue to win those cases and build up that case.
Well, and look, I mean, there's going to be some different members coming to the House this coming legislative session that are replacing some people that were there before. I'm not going to name names just yet. I might later. You have to stick around and find out. But I think our viewers know who we're talking about. I mean, one of the most watched elections was Lisa Luby Ryan against Jason Villalba. There's no question that Jason Villalba has a voting history of supporting LGBT laws, not being receptive of religious liberty laws. As a matter of fact, he withdrew his own religious liberty bill, and you picked it up.
That's true.
A couple of sessions ago. When you're a Republican, okay, and you withdraw your own bill on religious freedom, and then you do a press release about it, you're going to have to not be surprised when voters are upset about that later. And so Jason Villalba's not coming back. Lisa Luby Ryan took his seat. We'll see what happens in November. But, that's the direction of things going into next session for folks like you in the Matt Caucus and others.
That's right.
Y'all got to be very excited about having some more potential for some more help in the Texas House.
Oh, absolutely. I think we're bringing back everybody that we needed last time. We've added a few extra people. I think it's going to be a very exciting session. We're going to have a leadership change. I'm very optimistic that the person
Are we going to go there? You want to talk about that?
If we want to, I'm happy to talk about that because the person holding the gavel next session, I think, is going to be much more amenable to those kinds of issues, which can only help us. And honestly, I don't even want somebody who agrees with us on the issues. I just want them to let the process play out in a fair and even-handed manner.
I want somebody who agrees with us on the issues too.
Well, but I'm telling you, if they just let the process play out,
I know, I understand your point.
That's to pass all these religious liberty bills, we've got the will from the Texas people who have said time and again this is important. That's who they've sent to office with the Republicans. We'll pass all those bills on the floor every day. We just need to be able to get them to them.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the speaker that just gets out of the way and lets the will of the Republican Party or the majority, if you will, handle these issues, we got plenty of votes there. All right, before I let you go, since there's a game of beanbag toss going on next to us with the Cowboys logo on it. Okay, sorry, some of my personal friends, you know, I'm from Houston. I did kind of cave and become sort of a Cowboys fan. I got so much grief 2 years ago when I took my kids to a game. But my boy, yeah, that's right. So my boys were born in Dallas, so they're like, Daddy, we got to be Cowboys fans. So as a way to make them more comfortable being here, I let them bring a Cowboys beanbag toss, so you can hear that in the background. What's going on with the Cowboys? All right, I know you keep up with them. How was their draft? What do you think next season's going to look like?
You know, I actually thought their draft was pretty good. I was hoping they were going to take a receiver in the first round. And then the next day they got Tavon Austin from the Rams, so you can kind of see why they were doing.
And I know, let me back up. Representative Krause's district includes Cowboy Stadium?
AT&T Stadium.
And
host of one of the World Cup, some of the World Cup games in 2026.
Yes, I just heard that announced.
Which is going to be big. But I think the Cowboys have, you've got Dak all year, you've got Zeke back for the whole year. They just signed one of their stud offensive linemen to a long-term deal, Zach Martin, yesterday. So they've got the pieces to do it. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think they'll do well.
I might end up finding my way back up there for another Cowboys game. We'll see who's naughty and nice this year at my house about whether or not Cowboys tickets arrive at Christmas or before. But Representative Matt Krause has been our guest today on this Facebook Live session. Representative Krause, we are so thankful for your leadership, for your friendship, and your Christian witness that is so part about what you do. I know it's what people in your district care about. Hey, that's what Texas values are all about.
Yeah.
So
it's an honor to work with you. Thank you for the work y'all are doing.
Yes.